NER. I'm the Assistant Chief of Police for the City of Duncanville. On Monday, June 13th, 2022, at approximately 8:43 a.m., Duncanville Police Department began receiving calls concerning an armed individual and shots fired at the field house located at the 1700 block of South Main Street in Duncanville. Duncanville officers quickly responded, and while they were en route, again, our dispatchers advised that shots had been fired. Within 3 minutes, officers arrived on scene, correction, that's 2 minutes. Officers arrived on scene and immediately began searching the building as they are trained. Upon entering the building, they quickly located and exchanged gunfire with a suspect who was armed with a handgun. The suspect was wounded during the exchange of fire. Officers immediately provided first aid on scene, and the suspect was transported to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Our Duncanville Mobile Intensive Care Unit provided transport to Central Methodist. On today, a summer camp was taking place at the field house, which has a daily average of around 250 campers, ages ranging from 4 to 14. No child, no staff member, nor any officers were injured during this incident. Again, this is based off the quick response and actions taking place by our police officers who are trained to deal with situations like this. Upon arrival, my arrival, Duncanville ISD and Cedar Hill Police Department, along with DeSoto Police Department, assisted with the reunification and movement of all of the children inside the location. Duncanville ISD provided buses. We were able to place all the children on the buses and move them to the reunification location. Again, no children were injured. What we know is the suspect entered through the main lobby doors with a handgun. It appears that a staff member and he exchanged, whether it's discussions, a talk, but that was the initial gunfire, the initial shot that the people inside the location heard. Upon hearing that gunshot, they did what they were trained to do, the counselors. They moved the kids to a safe area and began locking the doors. The suspect went to a classroom, was unable to get inside, and did fire one round inside the classroom where there were children inside. Fortunately, no one was injured. After doing that, the suspect moved into the gymnasium where other kids were in, but again, no shots were fired there. Officers arrived on scene, observed him in the gymnasium, confronted him. Suspect and the officers then exchanged fire to where he was put down on the ground. Again, officers immediately began doing first aid until the medics arrived on scene and took over.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Stogner. A couple of quick points I want to emphasize. First of all is the community response. We want to thank the police departments of DeSoto and Cedar Hill and the Dallas Sheriff's Office coming in to help with this. And what it does is it emphasizes that we are a community in Southern Dallas County. None of us cities here operate individually when something like this occurs. And our commendations go to those police departments that came in quickly to assist us with this particular incident. Secondly, we want to thank the Duncanville Independent School District for their prompt assistance in the evacuation of bringing those children from the field house to the rec center. By the time I arrived on scene, everything was well under control and parents were beginning to come together to gather their children. It's important also to understand that the training and the processes that are involved in this, a reunification process, a reunification program was already in effect by the time this incident was beginning to unfold. And that's the strength of the training that our staff and our city goes through on a daily basis. And lastly, I would like to thank all the pastors that came to pray. We had community-wide pastors come to pray with our citizens and with the parents while waiting to be reunified with their children. It's the strength of what we have here in the city of Duncanville. We are proud of what we do and proud of all the cooperation that we have. Thank you.
Hello, I am Aretha Farrell-Benavides. I am city manager here for the city of Duncanville. We have with us today our council members, Councilmember Joe Vera Cruz, Councilmember Jeremy Kuntz, Councilmember Mr. Greg Contreras, and our Mayor Barry Gordon. To my left, we have our Assistant Fire Chief Chase, our Assistant City Manager, also former Police Chief Robert Brown, our Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Bart Stevenson. And so I would like to thank our team. Part of what we saw today was how our team works together. We've had a very rough day, but I believe that our team came together. We put the children first, and we will continue to do that. We will be working with the families, checking on the families this evening to make sure that they are okay and the children are okay. There are many questions that they will have. Many parents depend on these services for their children, and so we will work with the parents to find and make sure they have a safe place to go. We also plan to have grief counselors available for the children as well as the parents and continue to follow up with the families. To our staff, this was very stressful for our staff. We recognize that many of our staff members were there, and it was their thinking, their quick thinking, that helped to make this a safe situation for our children. Now, I do want to emphasize that there was a loss of life, and our hearts go out to the family. But I do want to thank our staff and our team and our public safety individuals for reacting quickly and ensuring the safety of not only the staff but the children. So I will turn it over to Michelle, who will entertain questions on behalf of the city. Michelle? I will take a few questions at this time.
Tell us about this individual who the police confronted. Who is that person and why did they go there?
So at this point, and I failed to mention, and I apologize, so with any officer-involved shooting, we contact other agencies, at which point we contacted the Texas Rangers, obviously from DPS. They have come in and began their investigation. At this point, I'm going to refer to them. It's still an ongoing investigation. We certainly don't want to provide or give anything that may hinder their investigation at this time.
Is there some reason why Dallas Fire Rescue people are here?
City council member.
He's a city council member.
Oh, thank you so much.
So can you say, because you said that there was it an argument at the front initially? Was that domestic? Was it over a dispute that they were having with the staff? I mean, what was it? Did they know each other?
Again, I'm not sure about the details on that conversation. They're still trying to get witnesses. You got to understand there were over 250 witnesses there that we're trying to contact and get more information. So until we get that, I don't want to speculate and say what happened.
Is your understanding that the person being encountered where the first shot happened, that person was not injured and just a shot went off at the front involving another person?
That's correct. There has been no reports of injuries other than the person.
And you mentioned that when he got to the gym that he didn't fire his gun. Is that correct?
Not at any of the children.
Okay, but once he engaged with officers, he did shoot.
There was an exchange of gunfire. That's correct.
And this was in front of, I assume, campers and staff saw this happen?
So from what we can tell, the kids were removed during the time that he was in the gym and we responded.
So you did say that he, from the time he left the lobby, he went to a classroom and fired one shot into the classroom with kids in it?
That's correct. So he gets into the lobby, there's an exchange with an employee there or a counselor there. A shot was fired then. That's when that classroom down the hallway began their procedure of locking the door, preventing that person's entrance into the room, and that's when he shot from the outside to the inside.
So he shot one time into one classroom?
As far as we know, yes, that's correct.
Like through the door, trying to shoot him through the door, or do you know where he was trying to shoot into?
From the exterior in the lobby or the hallway there, it was from the outside in.
So there's a total of just 2 shots fired by the suspect.
I can't confirm that. Again, this is very preliminary information.
Two before the exchange with the officer?
That's what we understand as of right now. But again, that could change pending more investigation into this.
How many officers fired their weapons?
I'm going to refer that to Texas DPS. They were doing that investigation.
Can you guys tell us a little bit more about the suspect name at all? Have you guys had any run into this person before in the past?
Not to my knowledge, we have not had any encounters with this person.
Did he have any relationship to anyone who was at the camp? Had he been there before? Did you know anyone who was working there or attending the camp? 'Cause it sounds like he knew where he was going, possibly.
I'm not sure. Again, we're at the onset of our investigation, and there's a lot of stuff that we're having to do to put all of the pieces together. We'll be able to provide more information as the investigation continues.
Was there resource officers there, or did DPD respond and engage? Was there already an officer on campus?
No, sir.
So when he got the calls, his first encounter was with an employee at the place?
That's correct.
And then you guys show up with your training,
That's correct.
and so officers engaged, not a resource, not Duncanville ISD officer?
No, sir. It was a Duncanville police officer. However, Duncanville ISD PD did come out and assist with the reunification of the children.
Chief, y'all have recently done active shooter training, is that my understanding? So your training kicked in with your officers and did what they were supposed to do in an active shooter situation?
Absolutely. So our officers train on this. We take this very seriously, obviously under the circumstances. They did exactly how they were trained to do, which is to go in and stop the threat.
Do you know how long this person was in the rec center with the gun before police arrived? Sounds like he was no law enforcement.
So we received the call at 8:43 this morning, and officers arrived on scene at 8:35. I'm sorry, 8:45.
Do you know when they shot the suspect?
I do not know. That again, that's going more in depth of the investigation. We're just not there yet.
So for a set amount of minutes, he was in this field house with a gun, was unable and armed to encounter him until police arrived. The reason why I ask that is typically kids would not be in the field house during the school year. They'd be in our schools, which have locked doors. Is there any consideration about hardening a place like a field house where there's this many kids?
Go ahead.
So as you can imagine, this is a very sad day, and we are going to be looking at security protocol. This is not a school facility, this is a city facility, and so there are some rules. And so we're going to be working over the next few weeks with our teams to look at our security protocol and to ensure. The sure fact that within 2 minutes our police department were on site is very important to note, but we will be looking at security efforts there because we do have a number of children there, and security is very important to us, as well as the parents. And so we will be communicating more over the next few days, our next steps.
Hey, Chief, can you regurgitate what you just said and give a press conference, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, can you regurgitate what you just said and begin a press conference, please? Skip, so we talk back.
What's going on? Sir, our press conference started. Go ahead.
What we'll do is I'll get you a copy of it. I think we just gave the update. I don't want to take up the time of our folks who were here, but we do have a press release that will have all of the details in which he shared with you on the activities of today, and we can talk to you after this with some more detail, just because.
Chief, can you just speak to the climate right now and just how a lot of us are on edge, just because there have been so many situations where, you know, there's been mass shootings all over America, and we're kind of glued onto this right now. I mean, just as a department, like you said, things worked out today, but I'm sure that's in the back of your mind, you know, constantly after all these moments we've had, you know, across the U.S.
Sure, absolutely. I will say that we certainly take our security very seriously. We actually teach this to our employees. It's important. We obviously understand what took place south of us. I can only talk about how we responded here, and we did an exceptional job. They did exactly how they were trained to do.
Okay, guys, we're going to take just 2 more questions, okay?
Will there be camp there anymore? What's the plan for those kids?
Right now, there's still an active investigation at the site. We're going to work with the parents to identify places for the kids. We recognize the importance of summer camp for the children, and so we will be reaching out to each parent today with the park staff and our staff to talk to them about placement for the children. And so once we get the scene cleared, then we will go through and evaluate what things we need to do at the center before bringing children back in it. But this is a very important part of our community. The Duncanville Field House is home to, as they said, 300 students annually, and they look forward to this. But we want to put the kids first, and we want to make sure they feel comfortable and safe returning to this location before we bring them back in there.
Do you have any
I'm sorry.
For how long is summer camp is gonna be?
We will possibly, we have other camp locations, and if parents are ready, we will probably bring kids back in this week, not to that site, but at least to a site. And then we will look toward what work we have to do at the field house before bringing the children who choose to come back to the field house to that site. But we recognize the importance of being there. We are going to have counselors available for the children, and so we will be working with their parents on a place for them to go safe and also have the support they need next.
That's it. Thank you all.
We don't, just real quick, we don't have a reason why he was there. You haven't connected why he was there?
It's still an active investigation, and one of the things that we have to do is we don't want to assume anything, and because we are not investigating internally, we have to leave that information to them. And so more information will be released as soon as it's available and as soon as we're able to share that information.
Can you remind